Hello everyone, and welcome to the wrap-up of our expansion franchise mode series on NHL 24 with the San Francisco Starfleet as we simulate all the way to year number 25. This was a blast of a franchise mode, as in this livestream series, our overall constraint came from a comment all the way back in 2021. I always keep what all of you have to say in mind when it comes to decisions, and this suggestion from longtime channel member Hef was exactly that, as he suggested doing a series based off of my love for the Star Trek universe, as you can tell from my data username if you know Star Trek. Hef suggested that since the Federation in Star Trek is made up of so many planets, we could make a team for Starfleet which includes a limitation that no forward line or defense pair could have more than one of a certain nationality. This created a very unique challenge for us in this franchise mode series, as you could now only have, let's say, 2 or 3 solid Canadian or American forwards, while the value of players from Latvia or Estonia, for example, would be much higher. Keeping track of this nationality limitation wasn't too difficult thanks to incredible community involvement, which included a Google Sheet kept updated by AGMs, Intelligent Dice, and Hobbsy, on top of some outstanding graphics made by Dice throughout the series to keep everyone up to date in the Discord server. Now, in all of our franchise mode series, we try to keep things as realistic as possible for a fictional universe, and always do our best to create rational storylines. In this series, in addition to having an expansion team, our fictional universe included a revamped point system, including wins counting as 3 points, 8 divisions across 2 conferences named after our channel legends in the Data 782 Hall of Fame, and a 4-team wildcard best of 3 for teams that finished between 15th and 18th in the standings every season. For NHL 24, what we did for both our Starfleet series and our Canucks series was to play through 15 seasons as general manager before transitioning to a final 10 years as president of hockey operations, essentially letting the team we've built run on its own, but still having some control over things, or else the AI would let it all go to waste. So, to catch you up to where we are now, from the expansion draft at the beginning of year number 1 until our final season as GM in year number 15, as you can see on this sheet right here, we made 15 consecutive postseasons and never missed once. Over those 15 seasons, we won 12 division titles, 8 conference titles, 6 President's Trophies, and 3 Stanley Cups. It was a really fun journey that stretched my ability to think of Star Trek-related episode titles, that's for sure. And whether you be someone who watched all 40-plus episodes over the last 10-plus months, or you're just stopping by and seeing what was accomplished after our 25 years, I thank you for taking the time to watch and be involved with our series. It truly is a community effort. Now, throughout this episode, you will see the state of the team at the beginning of every season, be updated on any major moves, see the season standings and point totals, be made aware of any important storyline points, and then see how we fared in the postseason if we made it to the dance. After the playoffs will then come more point totals, any awards or retirements, and then we do it all over again for the next season. So feel free to navigate through the seasons with the timestamps down below. Sadly, as each year goes by, contracts will get harder and harder to sign in franchise mode as player demands increase disproportionately from the increasing salary cap. So already by year 15, we have players wanting over 20% of the salary cap, which in today's NHL of an $88 million cap would be equal to players asking for over $17.5 million. And there are still 10 years to go before we wrap up in 2048. So it's not going to be easy to make things super realistic, but we'll always do our best. Moving now into the 2038 offseason where we last left off, we're coming off of a Stanley Cup, our 3rd in franchise history, and have more decisions to make as we get ready for year number 16. So just to quickly situate you in where we are going in the very near future, coming off the Stanley Cup against the 18 seed Panthers, thank goodness we beat them. They won from the wild card all the way to the Stanley Cup final. We're coming off of career high seasons from players like Avery McIntyre, Artem Nesterov, Rickard Rask, very good point totals from our regulars, Skylar Lucic, Vyacheslav Emlin, etc., etc. But the biggest issue, as I just went over, will be the contract management. Most notably, when we look at the expiring contracts, is Cole Hudson, our 90 overall top pair defenseman, first round pick back in 2024, way back when, 910 games, 692 points. He's been a 70-plus point player pretty consistently now. He's won a Norris Trophy, but look at what kind of contract he wants. He wants 17 million for 4 years, and we only have 15.935. So obviously we won't pay him that, but we can't give him our entire salary cap because there's still this guy Langkow, Filppula, especially especially Skylar Lucic. So moving into this offseason, as has already been discussed by some of the AGMs in the comments that were left at the end of the last episode, some money that could potentially move out would be the money that is currently going to Juha Mikkola. Mikkola has been our starting goalie for years now. He was a third-round pick back in 2025. He hasn't always been super consistent, but he has been a consistent starter. In the playoffs, it's been a mixed bag. But in the regular season, he's like Mr. 909. 909, 908, 909 save percentage. He's been there year in and year out. And in franchise mode in 2038, that puts him like top 5, top 10 every season. However, he's making $7.95 million, and we do have Jacques Brulé right here, who's going to be starting his contract of $6.075 million next year. Jacques Brulé kind of took over as starter at some points the last couple seasons. Career numbers of a 908 save percentage, pretty similar, almost identical to Mikkola. And in the playoffs, he's coming off of a Stanley Cup run in which he went 15-1-1. So when you think about money that needs to be freed up, as much as it hurts because we love having the storyline of a consistent goalie over many years, Juha Mikkola might have to be that guy that moves out. Would that solve all of our problems? Probably not, because we would still need Langkow to sign on, and he wants what? Upward? Yeah, he wants $13.1 million, so you got to play around with the RFAs and make them come down as much as possible. It is not easy. So all I have to say, the moves we make this offseason and in the offseason moving forward are with the desire of wanting to ensure that this team is in the best possible position to remain dominant into the next decade to come. So without further ado, I'll get to work on the 2038 offseason, and we'll see you at the beginning of year number 16. All right, ladies and gentlemen, year number 16, and changes have been made here in San Francisco. To kick off 2038-39, we have a first line of Alchevitz, Rask, and McIntyre as always. On the second line, John Rogers now takes the spot as the American in the top 6 as Skylar Lucic continues to drop down as a 78. So Nesterov, Quint, and Rogers will be the second line. Rogers at 19 years of age is now up to an 85 overall. He was the 8th overall pick in last year's draft in 2037. Chad Quint, who was the 24th overall pick by the Stars back in 2034. Now in his third season in the NHL, we'll finally see the top 6, and we had to move on from Greg Langkow. On the third line, Lucic, Emelin, and Filppula, who now joins the team. Filppula, former 4th-round pick of ours. On the fourth line, it's Renz, Bumgarner, and Kopecky, who was also a 4th-round pick in 2033, who has medium league potential. We had to move out Langkow because it came down to him or Cole Hudson. We did have Quint to slot up into the second line, so we said that's easier to swallow than losing the 70 points of Cole Hudson. I don't know if we'll keep him for all 4 years of the contract we signed him for at $15.75 million, but for now, he's still here with Fritzmeier on the top pair, Ramirez Eriksson on the second, and Kiprasov with Miles Pitton, first-round pick in 2035, on the third pair. Goaltending, we're starting with Jacques Brulé. As yes, we did have to move out Juha Mikkola, and it makes sense now as we see that Drouin de Laurier in our system grew to an 84 overall, so we have to make room for him as well. To give $7.95 million to Mikkola just wasn't going to work anymore, so Brulé signed on for 5 more years at $6 million. Drouin de Laurier signed on for 2 more years after this one at league minimum, I think, so JDD backing up. We'll see how his growth works out. No scratches as injuries are turned off in years 16 to 25 because I cannot stop every 2 seconds. It's already taking long enough to do this video. And the AHL, the lines look like this. If there's any player you want to keep an eye on for potential growth. Now you might be asking, what did we trade Mikkola and Langkow for? Langkow didn't have a ton of value as an RFA, but with Mikkola, we found a good little package deal that included the acquisition of, if we look at the unsigned players, the 8th overall pick, which got us Bruce Boyce, 76 overall, medium elite out of the draft, offensive defenseman, hopefully the future heir to Cole Hudson. It is so important in franchise mode to have a medium elite offensive defenseman in like the 15-plus seasons, as they just become so rare. So getting one here was a great pull. Now hopefully he grows well over time. And as we can see here, Langkow signed for 4 years at $14.45 million, just money that we did not have. The former 8th overall pick of the Montreal Canadiens in 2031, we acquired him as a prospect, and he played 3.5 full seasons in San Francisco, getting better each year, 58, 77, 85. I really wanted to keep him, but just wasn't working out in the top 6. 54 goals and 171 assists for 225 points through 287 games. He had a Stanley Cup ring and 48 points in 55 playoff games. Greg, we wish you all the best. He was especially a legend in 2036 with 8 goals and 3 of them game winners. I remember that. We'll miss you, Greg, but thank you. Good luck in Dallas. And Juha Mikkola, meanwhile, was traded to the Coyotes, so it was a bit of a three-team package thing to get that 8th overall pick. There was a lot of details that went into it, but Mikkola's in Arizona, now their starter for 2 more years at $7.95 million. Our former third-round pick back in 2025, Mikkola spent 13 years or so with the organization, playing 10 seasons in the NHL here in San Francisco, 581 appearances, going 357, 154, and 50, 31 shutouts, 909 save percentage, and 2.84 goals against average. While in the playoffs, he was 57, 32, and 6, 8 shutouts, 906 save percentage, and 3.24 goals against average through 98 appearances. 4 Jennings, 2 Vezinas, and 2 Stanley Cup rings. Juha Mikkola, we thank you for your service here in San Francisco and hope to one day see you in the Data 782 Hall of Fame. So, having said those tearful goodbyes, let's head into year number 16 where we're trying to defend our Stanley Cup title and go for a 4th consecutive President's Trophy. It was a clean sweep for year number 16 as we finished atop the NHL in 2039 with a record of 57, 18, and 7. Our power play sat at 28.1%, which is amazing, but actually our lowest in 5 years, while our penalty kill of 83.3% was also not crazy high, but our highest in 5 years. Funny to think. Checking out the point totals, our captain, Avery McIntyre, led the way with 48 goals and 104 points on the season. Valacheva's right behind him with 102 points of his own. Rickard Rask, 98. Artem Nesterov, 40 goals and 86 points from the former 6th-round pick. Cole Hudson, back on that new contract, 72 points from him. Leo Fritzmeier, career-high 62 points from the German. Wow. We thought his best was in the 50s, and he hit 62. Well done. Chad Quint, now playing second-line center. More ice time. 15.52 per night, but he doesn't really do much different than what he's done recently. Pretty much status quo, despite the extra, close to 4 minutes per night from Chad Quinn, so that's odd. John Rogers as well, 50 points sophomore season, and his rookie season was 47, so not great aside from that top line. Skylar Lucic, one of our best storylines, can't wait to get to him once he retires. So many great things you can say about him. He was playing third-line minutes this year, so very much of a reduced role from what he's been doing in recent years, more than 15, 16 minutes, 11.5. He still gets 26 goals and 47 points as a 77 overall. Ramirez, 35. Filppula, rookie season, 32 on that third line. Emelin, 31. Eriksson, 28. Kopecky, Renz, Bumgardner, Kiprusoff, Pitton, all the way down the list there for anyone who's curious. While goaltending, okay, Jacques Brulé goes 42, 14, and 7. 4 shutouts, 908 save percentage, and 2.89 goals against average, while JDD goes 15, 5-0 with 3 shutouts of his own, a 910 save percentage, and 2.72 goals against average. So things are looking good headed into the 2039 postseason, but as we always know, things can change very quickly. We'll be looking not only for another Stanley Cup, but for back-to-back championships for the first time through our years in San Francisco so far. And in the postseason, it was a run for the ages as we win back-to-back Stanley Cups, our 4th cup in franchise history, in our 8th ever Stanley Cup final, now officially 4-4 with that record. You would not believe this one as we went 16-2, sweeping round 1, sweeping round 2. In round 3, down 3 games to 1, we win game 5, game 6 overtime win, game 7 overtime win, and then sweep the Stanley Cup final against the Rangers. 16-2 run, our 4th Stanley Cup. Conn Smythe goes to Valachevic, who had 37 points over those 18 games. Very well deserved. Here wearing our alternate jerseys. I didn't want to go with the home ones as we just won our last cup in those, but we win back-to-back cups for the first time in franchise history. We made 3 consecutive Stanley Cup finals in years 3, 4, and 5, and now years 15 and 16, back-to-back final appearances. Of course, all with calendar sim. If we were doing year 16 with slow sims, we would have lost with our goalie falling apart. Even just looking at this game here, we allowed 4 goals and 16 shots in this 5-4 win in game 4. But Avery McIntyre receives the Stanley Cup as captain and raises it at MSG as Stanley Cup champions. First up, let's give it to the player he's been with the longest, Jalen Ramirez. It's a 4th ring for McIntyre and a 4th ring for Ramirez, the only 2 Starfleet officers who have been with this team through all 4 Stanley Cup victories. McIntyre passes it off to his longtime teammate and friend, Jalen Ramirez. After Ramirez, let's go Artem Nesterov, the 6th round pick, the Russian sniper, who out of nowhere became a top 6 forward for us. Maybe not as crazy of a story as Skylar Lucic, but just one notch under that. And finally, you know what? Let's give it to Brule. I know there's other good ones there in Valchavis and Rask, but some of those guys got it last year. Let's give it to Jacques Brule, who raises the cup as his first year, officially as the starter, without Mikola watching over his shoulder. Ladies and gentlemen, gather around, take out your cameras, get your screenshots ready, and go ahead and snap a picture of this back-to-back Stanley Cup Championship squad. It'll last a lifetime. And there are all of those wonderful names. San Francisco Starfleet 2038-39. So as I said, we went 16-3 in the postseason. Apologies, I said we went to 7 with Ottawa, but then I said we went 16-2. But obviously, if we went to 7, that means we lost 3 games. But we swept the 16 seed Wild in the first round, then the 8 seed Blues in the second round. That big 7-game thriller against the 5 seed Senators, as they had the 3-1 series lead, and we fought back to win in 7. Then finally sweeping the 6th seed Rangers. A very well-deserved Conn Smythe trophy to Michal Valachevich with 37 points through 19 games. Rask had 31. McIntyre, kind of a quiet 22 compared to what he did last postseason. Hudson, 22. Nesterov, 11 goals and 19 points. Rogers, great stuff from the sophomore. 2 Stanley Cups through 2 seasons in the league now. Eriksson, Emelin, Fritzmeier, all 11. Philip 10. Ramirez, 8. Quint, Pitton, all down the list here for everybody else. Negatively, some tough plus-minuses in the bottom 6. And goaltending, Brule went 16-2-1 with 1 shutout and a .919 save percentage with 2.70 goals against average. No major awards in year number 16 aside from the Conn Smythe and Valachevich, and that just about does it for 2038-39. Moving into year number 17, there's more changes to be made. Likely Jalen Ramirez on his way out as his contract demands are too high for our cap space. We'll see what I can work out in this offseason, and we'll get to the start of year number 17, where we will begin our journey for the three-peat. Oh, what? This totally caught me off guard. In the 2039 postseason, Skylar Lucic retires? What? He's 33! I know he's down to a 74 overall, but he's only 33, and he just had a 47-point season. Well, this is happening way earlier than I thought, and it does free up some money for us. But Skylar Lucic says, I've done enough, I have my rings, I'm moving on. The 3rd round pick, 99th overall in the 2024 draft by Seattle. He went to free agency, was unsigned as a rookie. I don't think he ever got any AHL. No, he got some AHL time with Coachella Valley, then that was it. Went to free agency. We said, hey, we need some randoms to fill some spots in the AHL, so we signed Lucic just thinking he'd be a whatever kind of guy. 40 goals, 66 points. 44 goals, 74 points. 50 goals, 109 points. We said, okay, hold on a second. This guy's still a 76 overall with bottom 6 potential, but he has 50 goals and 109 points. Let's give him a chance on the 3rd line. He scores 29 goals and 39 points in his rookie season, playing, 1353 of ice time? Hey, not bad. Let's give him another season. 67 points with less ice time, a minute less. He scores 41 goals and 67 points. Let's give him more ice time. 33 goals, 65 points. Okay, well, maybe he's just, even if he slows down, that's still really good from him. No! 51 goals, 85 points. Okay, Lucic, slow down. No! 50 goals, 102 points. All the while, he never got higher than, an 82 overall? Did he get to top 9 potential ever? I don't think so. Always bottom 6, AHL top 6, low 80s overall, but a consistent 60, 80, 100-plus point guy, 83 points the year after, 4 consecutive years of 33 goals or more, back-to-back 50-goal seasons, then 62, then 47. Even though he went up and then came back down, still 311 goals, 239 assists, and 550 points through 632 NHL games for a player who had bottom 6 potential or worse and was 82 overall or worse through his entire NHL career. We found a loophole somewhere in the system. He shot at 15.6%. In the playoffs, 54 goals and 107 points in 118 games. He got 3 Stanley Cup rings and is, you would think, a shoo-in for a first ballot Data 782 Hall of Famer. Skylar Lucic, I wasn't ready for this goodbye, but I wish you all the best, my friend, in retirement. I've never seen a player who scores this much retire so young, but it's because of his overall, which for some reason continues to drop despite the performances. Capo Caco, former Starfleet officer, retired. Fabian Lysell, one of our great stories as well, also retired. We got him as like an 82 overall who also did Skylar Lucic type things. Back-to-back 70-plus point seasons as an 82. So we really squeezed a lot out of Fabian Lysell as well. But this one really shocks us. Skylar Lucic, thank you, thank you, thank you. Whew. And also goodbye to Moritz Seider, who was with us for a long time here in San Francisco as he retires at the age of 38. To begin year number 17, some more changes to this squad as both Vyacheslav Emelin and Jalen Ramirez, two of our longest serving players, had to move out. I'll explain it in just a moment. First line, Valachevitz, Rask, and McIntyre. Second line, Rogers, Quint, and Nestrov. On the third line, Ruben Lutz, our former second round pick of 2036, 4.5-star shooting sniper. He'll get his NHL debut on the third line with Phil Pila and our new acquisition in Robert Backlund. 1 year left on his contract. He'll only be a rental. 5-star shooting sniper. We got him from Boston. He'll play on the third line for the time being, and he kind of replaces Emelin. I'll explain why in a moment. And on the fourth line, Renz, Brody, and Jensen. Jensen, former third-round pick, and Brody, former second-round pick. So Emelin essentially had to move out because his contract was for more than one season. Rogers, on an expiring entry-level contract, was at a very favorable number for his extension. We signed him for 8 years at, I believe, $9.4 million. If we wanted to wait one more year and keep Emelin in our lineup and sign Rogers at the end of 2040, we could have done that, but his contract demands may very well have been an 11, 12, 13 plus million. So in order to lock in that extension now, we had to trade away someone who was under contract in the future, and that was Vyacheslav Emelin. But that freed up money for this season. Therefore, Robert Backlund joins us as a rental just for this 1 year. Those are the forwards. On defense, Hudson and Fritzmeier, on the top pair. Eriksson and Bruce Boyce, the guy who we got in the Mikkola trade back in the 2038 draft, 8th overall. Bruce Boyce making his NHL debut and getting a +4 with Eriksson. That's great. And on the third pair, we had to move out Jalen Ramirez, who wanted $9+ million. So Miles Pitton and now Andre Datsuk, former 6th overall pick in 2037. He joins the team. It's crazy that there's almost no right-handed defensemen and none that are not defensive defensemen in the NHL. So Andre Datsuk, 6'5", two-way D, joins our system and hopefully can be a piece into the future until he wants $28 million himself. Then finally, for the goaltending, nothing changes there. Brule and JDD still 85 and 84 overall, respectively. So there are a couple of tearful goodbyes, starting off with Vyacheslav Emelin, the 19th overall selection in the 2025 draft. He was a rock for us as third-line center. He had that potential to be a second-line guy, but because of limitations and wanting to grow other players, he was kind of always stuck in that third-line role. Regardless, a consistent 50-point guy when given the ice time. In the AHL, he was a machine, but in the NHL, 733 games played, 132 goals, 247 assists for 379 points, a +88, and as you see in the ice time, always just 11-13 per night, so hopefully he can spread his wings and fly a little bit here in Detroit. In the playoffs, 3 Stanley Cup rings for Emelin, 139 games played, 33 goals, 50 assists, and 83 points from the Latvian legend himself. Vyacheslav, such great moments with you. We'll cherish them. Good luck in Detroit. And our last goodbye goes to Jalen Ramirez, who signed a 4-year deal in Vegas, paying him just over $8 million per season. We could not afford that. Ramirez, a former second-round pick of ours in our first drafts in 2024, 42nd overall pick. He was here for all 4 Stanley Cup championships and played over 1,000 games with Starfleet. 1,028 games played, scoring 85 goals and 235 assists for 320 points, and was a +269 to boot. Playing always that consistent second pair role. Let's see, 1,319 hits, 1,140 blocks, usually in that 100+ category on both sides-ish at his best. In the playoffs, he appeared in 218 games, 18 goals, 43 assists, and 61 points as a +44, getting those 4 Stanley Cup rings. 14 seasons played in San Francisco. Jalen, all the best in Vegas, and that now leaves only Avery McIntyre, who's heading into his 15th season, standing alone as most seasons played in franchise history. Year number 17, fighting for that three-peat. Let's hit it. Whew, what a way to start the 2040s, as in year number 17 we finish atop the NHL for a 5th consecutive season and tie our franchise record best record of 61, 15, and 6. What a year it was, as the power play went at 31.1% and the penalty kill at 83.5. We even started the season with 20 wins in the first 23 games, so we were a wagon. For a 3rd consecutive season, and for the 5th time in the last 6 years, Avery McIntyre finishes above 100 points, 58 goals on 102 points from the captain. Nesterov, 47 goals and 98 points from him. Valchevitz coming off the Conn Smythe, 97 points. Cole Hudson, good thing we kept him for the time being, career high 91 points. More assists at 85 than he had ever had points previously at 73. 6 goals and 85 assists from the now 33-year-old. What a year from him, 91 points. Rickard Rask, 87 points. Rogers in his 3rd season, now 74. Great to see that improvement from him. Quinn, 70. Yes. Fritzmeier, 64. Filippo, 54. Backlund, no power play time, so very limited ice time. 10 minutes a night. We knew it wouldn't be much, but for that ice time, 42 points in a 1-season Band-Aid, that's fine by me. Renz, 36. Lutz, 33 in his rookie season, 21 goals. Brody, 30. Boyce in his rookie year, 27 points, playing almost 21 minutes per night, now up to an 83 overall. Jensen's rookie season, 22 points. Eriksson, 22. And then for the goaltending, we see Brule go 42, 11, and 6 with 7 shutouts, 908 save percentage, and 2.76 goals against average, while JDD continues to be backup extraordinaire, going 19 and 4 with 4 shutouts, a 927 save percentage, and 2.1 goals against average. Cole Hudson's 91 points, and oh, by the way, plus 71 just flew under the radar. Plus 71. Best in the NHL for defensive scoring. He had more assists than any other defenseman had points, so that should be a second Norris Trophy for him, headed into the 2040 postseason as we try to push for the three-peat. And in the 2040 postseason, we made it back to another Stanley Cup final, but ultimately fell to Juha Mikkola and the Arizona Coyotes. We swept the Rangers in round 1, the team we just beat last year for the Stanley Cup, beat the Devils in 5, beat the Penguins in 5, but then fell in 6 to the 6th-seed Coyotes. In those 20 games, both Valchevitz and Rask scored 25 points. McIntyre and Filppula both had 18. That's nice to see from Filppula especially. Quinn, 17. Fitzmaier, 15. Hudson, compared to the regular season, slowed down a little bit. 12 points from him. Backlund and Rogers and even Nesterov all with 11. Boyce, 10. Lutz, Renz, all the way down the list here for anyone who's curious. While the goaltending was solid enough. 14 and 6 went Brule with a 916 save percentage and 2.71 goals against average. And in the offseason awards, Jacques Brule won another Jennings Trophy, while, of course, Cole Hudson won the James Norris Trophy. Speaking of Cole Hudson, it's going to be a difficult offseason on how much money he is eating up in the cap space. He showed himself to be very much worth it, so it'll definitely take some cap gymnastics headed into year number 18. More changes were made in the 2040 offseason as headed into year number 18. Our lineup no longer includes Rickard Rask. We'll break it down in just a moment. Our lineup to start 2040-41 will be Valchevitz, McIntyre, and Quint on the top line. Rogers, Filppula, and Nesterov on the second. Lutz, Anderchuk, and Renz on the third. William Anderchuk, the former 6th overall pick of the Minnesota Wild, we picked him up in a trade to play third-line center at least the next couple of years as he's on a cheap contract for the third line. Maybe he'll grow and be a top sixer of the future, but he's American, so probably not, but we'll see what happens. Fourth line, Jensen, Brody, and Guillermo Gibson. Gibson, 6'5", former second-round pick in 2037. On defense, all's the same with Hudson and Fitzmaier on the top pair. Eriksson and Boyce on the second. Boyce now at an 85 overall, getting ready to take over for Cole Hudson soon, because as we said, we can't keep paying him $15.75 million forever, but only a couple more seasons. We'll see. On the third pair, it's now Andre Datsuk with Rory Kaliko, who was a 6th-round pick back in 2036. Goaltending hasn't changed. Brule at an 85 and JDD at an 84. And finally, just on the rationale for trading Rickard Rask, it was a tough decision to make. The 7th overall pick in 2029 of Columbus. We got him in a trade when he was still a prospect. He's played his entire career here in San Francisco. 569 games played, 174 goals, 382 assists for 556 points, close to point per game through 7 NHL seasons. In the playoffs, 92 games played, 38 goals, 70 assists, 108 points. So a great playoff performer. But the biggest issue was making $13 million for 5 more years, and to be kind of capped out with that top 6 potential. He's an 87 overall, but if it came down to signing some of our elite younger players like Filppula, Rogers, and soon Boyce, those guys, or keeping him at $13 million, he was unfortunately the odd man out to free up that cap. So a very unfortunate cap casualty, but he got 3 rings here in San Francisco. We wish him all the best in Winnipeg. The President's Trophy streak continues in year number 18 as we finish atop the NHL for a 6th consecutive season, going 57, 19, and 6 with a power play of 30.2% and penalty kill of 84.2. Valchevitz and McIntyre were tied for the team lead in points as they had 102 points each. Nestrov another 48-goal season, 96 points from him. Chad Quint, 40 goals and 82 points, the first point-per-game season of his career. Increased role for him this season, playing 21 minutes per night. Speaking of getting better, Leo Fritzmeier, 77 points from the German. 39, 53, some 40, 50 point guy last 3 years, 62, 64, 77, plus 57, plus 74. This man is a machine. On that top pair with Cole Hudson, who had 76 points himself and was a plus 53. John Rogers, 69. Ruben Lutz, 36 goals, only 12 minutes a night, so looking forward to hopefully getting him in the top 6 soon. 60-point season from him. Filppula, 54. Andrechuk, 49. Boyce, 47 points and a plus 29 from the defenseman. Renz, 35. Eriksson 30, and down the list we go for the bottom 6 and third deep pairs. Goaltending, Brule went 32, 12, and 6 with 2 shutouts, a 906 save percentage, and 2.81 goals against average. But you know what? JDD, Jean Drouin de Laurier, looked very good. He appeared in 33 games, a career high. I suppose since their overalls are close, the games split some of their starts. JDD went 25, 7-0 with 3 shutouts, a 917 save percentage, and 2.57 goals against average. On the last year of his deal, could he actually take over as starter moving forward? Small sample size over parts of 4 seasons, but he has a 916 save percentage and 2.54 goals against average through 83 appearances. Meanwhile, Brule, he has some Vezina, some Jennings, all that, consistently above 900 save percentage, consistently below 3 goals against average, which is rare in franchise mode. Another good season, he hit 200 career wins as a Starfleet officer, but he is making more at just over 6 million for 2 more years, while JDD would probably be making less. It's going to be a tough question for this offseason, but good point totals. Goaltending will be a tough question for this offseason, but until then, we're headed into the 2041 postseason, trying to make a 4th consecutive Stanley Cup final and make it 3 cups in 4 years. And in the 2041 postseason, we swept through the Flyers in round number 1, but then fell in 6 to the Islanders in round number 2, who went on to lose to the Coyotes, who won their 2nd consecutive cup. And if you're curious, no, Mikkola no longer on the Coyotes now. In those 10 games, Fritzmeier led the team in points with 12 points. Love to see that. Nestrov, 8 goals in those 10 games, shooting at 25%. McIntyre, 9 points. Lutz, Rogers, Quinn, Valchevitz, a lot of players with 7 points. All done list here. No major disappointments, I don't think. And in the goaltending, Brule went 6-4 with an 891 save percentage and 3.55 goals against average. Does not help his case for sticking around. It's tough to be romantic about goaltending when it's such a revolving door in franchise mode and players want such ridiculous money. We're ready for year number 19, but Valchevitz needs a contract and money will need to be moved. And a big shout out to Cole Perfetti, who retires here in 2041. One of the legends of this franchise mode series, Data 782 Hall of Fame nominee, absolutely. Spent so many years here in San Francisco being our top line center, being the tag team guy with McIntyre as well. Spent his last 3 seasons in Vancouver and St. Louis. Cole, we wish you all the best in retirement. And also retiring, another one of our big pieces in this series, Frank Nazar. We got him as a 3rd liner. He ended up putting up 2nd line production, had some solid 70-point seasons. So all the best, gentlemen. And at the draft, we do make a splash with the value that we had to move out as we took pick number 29 and Jacques Brule and traded them to the San Jose Sharks for the 4th overall pick, which San Jose wanted to move. They needed a starting goalie, so I think that's a pretty fair deal for a goalie who's been elite. 1 Vezina, 3 Jennings, and with the 4th overall selection, I was thinking about the centerman from Canada, but I think I lean a bit more to the sniper from Russia. Actually, now that I think about it, it's a tough call because one's a year younger, Courtnall's 17. We have Quint at center once McIntyre retires. We have Filppula as well. But after that, actually, there's not a lot of centermen in the system. It's a tough decision. But Doug Courtnall, welcome to San Francisco. I changed my mind on that one. 80 overall, medium elite, 2-way forward. Wasn't expecting to do that. I thought we were going to go for the sniping winger. But last second change, when I really think about the center depth in our system, it would be the centerman that we need to add. So Datsuk, 79 overall, medium elite, 5-star shooting. He'll be a monster as well. But I think since we already got Rogers a few years ago as that winger of the future, Courtnall can be that centerman of the future. But we sadly move on from him. The former 4th round pick of 2030, as I mentioned, 1 Vezina, 3 Jennings, 299 appearances, 200 wins in Starfleet, going 200, 60, and 30. Good ratios. 19 shutouts, 908 save percentage, 2.83 goals against average. Nothing against him, more just because of JDD and the growth of our medium league goalie prospects in our system. To pay $6 million for what we could get from somebody else, we just can't afford it in franchise mode. He also won 2 Stanley Cup rings, going 65, 20, and 5 through 90 postseason appearances, 3 shutouts, 915 save percentage, and 2.72 goals against average. Jacques, merci beaucoup, mon ami. Okay, what an offseason, and let's get started for year number 19. On the first line, Balchevitz, McIntyre, and Quint. Our captain, Avery McIntyre, now 35 years of age, down to an 88 overall. On the second line, Nesterov, Anderchuk, and Rogers. Anderchuk's just going to go up for this one season, but Courtnall is the heir of the top six center. Hopefully, he'll be our first line center of the future. Maybe Chad Quint goes there, but still, that's a question for the future. Ruben Lutz now at an 82 overall with Courtnall, who we just drafted at 4th overall. On the right is Rick Matvichuk, who we got as a third-round pick in 2040, now at an 81 overall. That's great. Fourth line, Renz, Gibson, and Parker Henrik, who was a first-round pick in 2038. On defense, Hudson, Fritzmeier, Eriksson, Boyce. Cole Hudson, probably his final season with us. I'm surprised he stayed for all 4 seasons of this extension, but we can't keep him again at $15 million. Next year, Fritzmeier, Boyce, both needing contracts. This is the final season of Cole Hudson. And on the third pair, Alexander Loktionov, an offensive defenseman from Philadelphia. We got him in a trade as we were moving around trade value, especially Filppula, who we had to trade out, and Kaliko on the right of that third pair. Goaltending, JDD, Jean Drouin de Laurier gets the start as an 85 overall. Backing him up is 22-year-old Quinn Schultz, 84 overall, second-round pick back in 2037. He was a gem with medium potential. Now he's getting his chance as backup, and possibly as soon as next season starting. But JDD will get his first chance to see, were those numbers that he put up just backup numbers, or can he do it over a larger sample size? Year number 19, 2041-42. Let's hit it. On paper, in year number 19, we won the least amount of games in 9 years, but it was still good enough to finish second in the NHL. The streak of President's Trophies is over, but we won still our 10th consecutive division title. We went 49, 26, and 7, finishing second in the league. Not too far behind the Coyotes, who had 51 wins. 28.7% on the power play and 82.1% on the penalty kill. Avery McIntyre finished 1 goal and 1 point shy of another 50-goal, 100-point season, but we'll still take 99 from the 36-year-old. Valchevitz 97, Nesterov 89, Quint 85, continuing to get better each year. Hudson still puts up 69 points at 35 years of age. Fritzmeier 65. Rogers seems to be a mid-60-point guy. We wanted more from the 8th overall pick, and he's been good. Just he hasn't gotten that top-line status type of output just yet. Boyce 51 points. He'll be ready for top pair minutes next year. Anderchuk 49. Lutz 42. He needs to get more ice time as well. And down this Courtnall, 28-point rookie season-ish, but I'm looking forward to the growth that should come over this off-season. And yeah, not a lot of offense at the bottom of the standings there. JDD goes 37, 16, and 6 with 6 shutouts, a .919 save percentage, and 2.4 goals against average. But a lot of our losses came from Quinn Schultz, who despite being an 84 overall, went 12, 10, and 1. 2 shutouts, but an .876 save percentage and 3.58 goals against average. Ugly stuff. But very happy to see that JGD can do it over the course of a full season. Great numbers now through 143 appearances. But that being said, we're moving into the 2042 postseason in what will likely be Cole Hudson's last ride. In the 2042 postseason, we swept through rounds 1 and 2 before falling in 7 games in round number 3 to the eventual Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche. Quinton Valchevitz tied for the team lead in points through those 15 games with 17 points apiece. McIntyre, 11 goals and 16 points from the captain, 16 points from Nesterov as well, 15 from Fritzmeier and Hudson, 12 from Boyce, and down the list we go for the rest of the scoring. Goaltending, JDD went 11-4-0 with 2 shutouts, a .903 save percentage, and 2.83 goals against average, as he also grows to an 88 overall and now has the light work superstar ability. Speaking of JDD, he also wins the 2042 Vezina, hats off to him, and another James Norris going to Cole Hudson, the 3rd of his career, the 2nd in the last 3 years as well. I wish we could keep him, but at his age and his deteriorating overall, I'm sure he'd still put up the numbers, but we have boys who can fill in, and we don't have an extra 15 or whatever, maybe 12 million to spare for him. So in the 2042 offseason, more changes will come headed into year number 20. And a special shout out to Jalen Ramirez, who retires here in 2042 after 3 more seasons in Vegas. 440 points for him through a 1,274 game career. Another big splash in the offseason as we traded with Montreal Canadiens at pick number 3. The Habs wanted to move their pick, so we gave them our first, our second, I believe a third in the future, the rights to Cole Hudson, gave them the rights to Anderchuk, who we can't re-sign as well, and we're going to go ahead and get Jamison Waite. This guy had 131 points in 68 games in the OHL. Yes, he's also Canadian, so he can't play with the guy we just drafted last year, and yes, again, it's 2 top 5 picks in 2 years, but we're trading out heavy trade value. I know it's a bit cheap to get top 5 picks in back-to-back years, but we're trading out heavy trade value to get these selections made. But we'll take him at number 3. Welcome to Starfleet, Bello. You are 80 overall out of the draft. Mediumly two-way forward. We'll throw him in the system. We got to get some pieces for the future with how players are getting older. McIntyre's close to retiring. We got to get some guys in here. And hopefully Waite is one of those pillars of the next 6 seasons left in this franchise mode, and also theoretically in the years after we're gone after year 25. So Cole Hudson, the reigning Norris Trophy winner, goes to the team where his brother Lane played. He has spent his entire career in San Francisco, the 13th overall pick back in 2024. I remember being skeptical of the selection. I wasn't super into it, but the AGMs pushed for him, and I'm glad that they did. He won 3 Norris trophies, exactly 1,000 points. Wow. Through 1,238 games with Starfleet, 113 goals, 887 assists, a plus 530. 212 power play points, averaged over 25 minutes of ice time per night, over 1,000 hits. Yeah, I wasn't a big hitter, but over 1,000 hits and almost 1,600 blocked shots. Just one giveaway shy of 1,000, so glad he didn't get to that one. And in the postseason, through 226 appearances, 24 goals, 133 assists for 157 points to go along with his 3 Stanley Cup rings. Cole, it's been an absolute pleasure having you. Future Data 72 Hall of Fame, hands down, at least a nominee, if not a first or second ballot induction. All the best in Montreal, getting to play where your brother Lane was, and we can't thank you enough for your contributions to our franchise's history. Year number 20, 2042-43. Let's get started. Balachevitz, McIntyre, and Quint on the top line. McIntyre now at an 85 overall with top 9 potential, so he'll continue to regress. On the second line, Nesterov, Courtnall, and Rogers. I know it's Courtnall a little bit over his head, but we want him to be the future of this team. Quint could, in theory, take that first-line center spot, but at the very least, Courtnall is the second-line center of the future, so he'll be going there this season. On the third line, Matvichuk with Guillermo Gibbs, who's pretty solid as fourth-line center, so we're going to give him a try as third-line center. Now he's an 81 overall, playing with a newly drafted Jameson Waite as well. On the fourth line, Chad Barrett, first-round pick from Seattle in 2036. Len Schumacher, first-round pick of ours in 2039. And Ruben Lutz, who fell off a cliff. The guy was a 60-point scorer, went down to 42, and now he dropped to an 80 overall. So I don't know what to do with this guy. I don't want to take off Matvichuk or Waite here in the lineup either in the bottom 6. So I'm going to give him some power play time and hopefully he can score some goals with his 4.5-star shooting now. It dropped even, whatever. Defense, Bruce Boyce now gets top pair minutes with Leo Fritzmeier finally. On the second pair, it's Ludwig Eriksson with Alexander Loktionov. Last year, on the third pair, not enough ice time for the offensive defenseman maybe. Let's see what he does in a top 4 role. And Kaliko plays with Max Schulz, second-round pick from 2039. Goaltending now, JDD will continue as an 88 overall. Quinn Schultz actually grew to an 89 overall. But the thing is, his overall was boosted when I looked deeply into it by agility and speed and stuff like that. His glove high was low 80s. His 5-hole, low 80s. While JDD, as you can see on the left, 99 breakaways, 99 5-hole, 90 glove high. There's a reason why he sims so well. So even though Schultz was a higher overall and younger, I'm going to go with JDD because of how he simulates, and we have him sign on for 7 more years of 5.675. Maybe he's our goalie all the way to the end of this franchise mode. But he's currently backed up this year by Uldrich Bilis. He was a 4th-round pick in 2038, already an 84 overall by 23 years old. Year number 20, the next decade starts now. Year number 20 sees us return to President's Trophy status as we finish atop the NHL with a 58-17-7 record. But our power play, despite being high at 23.8%, is our lowest in 14 years. Crazy in franchise mode world. But 23.8% our lowest in a very long time. Meanwhile, our penalty kill of 85.4, our highest in 9 years. Avery McIntyre, 109 points from the 37-year-old captain, now down to an 84 overall. He's still got it. We love this man. Nesterov scores 60 goals, the first 60-goal season of his career at the age of 34, 105 points from him. Balachevitz another mid-90-point season with 94 points right there. Chad Quint, 40 goals and 89 points. Rogers, finally, the type of years we're looking for from him, 75 points. Fritzmeier, 65. Boyce, 59 in his first season of getting close to 26 minutes of ice time per night, now an 87 overall. Courtnall, 55 points from the sophomore, 31 from the rookie Jameson Waite. Ice time wasn't that low, but he should get into the top 6 next season. Or not, maybe I kind of miscalculated the number of Canadians in the top 9, so maybe we'll trade him for another top prospect. I don't know. Gibson, 30 and negative 20. So yeah, okay, this third line was horrible. Negative 24, negative 20, negative 28. Oh my goodness. Yeah, because I did end up putting Lutz, whatever, on the third line, and that seems to be a mistake. So I'll change that for the postseason, actually. Eriksson, 27, Matvichuk, 25, Barrett, Schumacher, Kaliko, Loktionov, 19 as the offensive defenseman. Okay. JDD goes 52, 15, and 7. 6 shutouts, a 912 save percentage, and 2.72 goals against average, making over 2,000 saves on the season. While Uldrich goes 6-2-0 with 2 shutouts, a 905 save percentage, and 3.09 goals against average. So I'll make that one lineup change in the bottom 6 heading into the playoffs. 2043 postseason coming your way. Let's do it for our aging vets here, McIntyre, Nesterov, and company. 2043 was a shaky postseason as we barely made it out against the 16-seed wildcard Maple Leafs. They had a 3-1 series lead against us, but of course, Maple Leafs would come back and win in 7, but then we fell in 7 in round number 2 to the eventual Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights. Valchevitz won point per game and led the team in scoring with 14 and 14. 12 assists from Courtnall, 11 from Nesterov, Rogers, Fritzmeier, and McIntyre, all scoring 11 points in 14 games. Quint had 10, Waite had 8, and that rhymes. And all down the list we go here. Some tough plus minuses. Ouch. Goaltending, Drouin de Laurier goes 7-5-2, 908 save percentage, 3.05 goals against average. Not super pretty. And in the awards, Avery McIntyre won the first Lady Byng in Starfleet history, so hats off to the captain and his gentlemanly conduct. It was another solid season numbers-wise, but McIntyre, Valchevitz, they're getting older. Valchevitz is making well over $15 million. Maybe some sort of change happens to the core, plus possibly moving out one of those Canadian prospects to get a different nationality in here. Not sure. More work cut out for me headed into year number 21. Okay, year number 21, I've corrected the timeline a little bit. First line for this season in 2043-44 will be Nesterov, McIntyre, and Quint. On the second line, Sergei Datsuk, the player we didn't draft that went 5th overall to the Devils. I ended up flipping that other Canadian prospect, Jamison Waite. Really good. He grew to an 84 overall by 19. But the thing was, we had just had too many Canadians. I miscalculated it, and he would have been stuck on the third line, kind of like how Rogers is right now because of Datsuk coming in. So maybe Rogers moves out soon. I don't know what. But Datsuk, he's an 86 overall, 20 years of age. So now with Courtnall and Datsuk, we have picks 4 and 5 from that 2041 draft. But because he's Russian, Nesterov and Datsuk have to be separated, and Quint and Courtnall, the Canadians, have to be separated, so it's a bit of a different top 6. Third line, Rogers, Gibson, and Matvichuk. I'm not happy about Rogers being on that third line. He'll get power play time, but he never really hit those higher 80 overalls that we were hoping from him when we drafted him. Henrik, Schumacher, and Barrett on the fourth line. Defense, Boyce, Fritzmeier, Loktionov, Eriksson, and third pair, Kaliko and Scholes, with goaltending being JDD. And this guy, Stefan Aubin, who we got in a trade because Uldrich, he grew an 86 overall, hadn't really proven himself at all yet, and JDD continues to be our guy who sims well and costs 5.675. So I'd rather roll with him than just say, oh, you're a higher overall, let's go to you, Uldrich, and throw JDD to the curb. The last thing to touch upon, I haven't updated you on the captains in a little bit, now that Ramirez and Hudson, all those guys are gone. Captain still, of course, Avery McIntyre, but our two alternates are Valchevitz and Eriksson here moving into our 21st season. Year number 21 saw us return to 60 wins as we once again finish atop the NHL with a record of 60, 17, and 5, a power play of 28.4%, and a penalty kill of 85.8. Despite playing on the second line, Valchevitz scores 108 points to lead the team in scoring. Avery McIntyre, at 38 years of age, scores 53 goals and 106 points with bottom 6 potential. Another 50-plus goal, 100-plus point season. I can't wait to see where he ranks in the all-time record book at the end of this one. Nesterov, 96 points, just always quietly that third guy in scoring with always somewhere in the 90s. Crazy. Quint, 87, Datsuk, 84 in his first season here in San Francisco. 2 years with the Devils, and he's gotten better each year since. I'm glad we corrected the timeline there. I'm not corrected because I'm glad we took Courtnall, but I'm glad that we went back and picked up Datsuk after we had initially said, let's go for the center. Speaking of Courtnall, he goes point per game. 82 points in 82 games from the young 20-year-old. Boyce with 75 points, the best season of his career so far. Fritzmeier still getting it done at 72 as well. Rogers, 49, a quick drop off there. It's really too bad. It's really too bad. Matvichuk, Loktionov, etc., 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 all the way down. And goaltending, JDD goes 52, 14, and 3. Not his best numbers at a .902 save percentage and 3.01 goals against average. While Stéphane Aubin goes 8, 3, and 2 with an 886 save percentage and 3.57 goals against average. After capturing another President's Trophy, we head into the postseason, trying to get back to the Stanley Cup Final for the first time in 4 years. So let's cross those fingers and get it done, because you never know when Avery McIntyre might just call it a career. In the postseason, we marched our way back to the Stanley Cup Final with a sweep in round 1, 6-game victory in round 2, 5-game victory in round 3, but then fell in 5 games in the Cup Final to the Bruins. Nestrov had 14 goals and 26 points through those 20 games to lead the team in scoring at the age of 35 now. Quint 23, McIntyre 18, he still got it. Fritzmeier, Valchevas both with 17. Sergei Datsuk in his first season with us, 10 goals, 16 points. Courtnall 13, etc. down the list here. Boyce 12, Rogers 12, Loktionov 11 even. All right. And for the goaltending, JDD went 13, 6 and 1 with a shutout, 920 save percentage and 2.72 goals against average. He did his job, but the Bruins just came out on top in the final. It was another Stanley Cup Final, but another tough loss headed into 2044 offseason as we get ready for year number 22. No! Oh, whoa! Another big surprise as Avery McIntyre, after one last Stanley Cup Final, says he's ready to hang up the skates at the age of 38. 1,551 games played, all in San Francisco. 986 goals. Just 14 shy of 1,000. 848 assists for 1,834 points. Of course, injuries turned off, a lot more games played than you would think, but what a career from the still 86 overall Avery McIntyre. I suppose with bottom 6 potential, he was due for a big drop and he just didn't have it in him anymore. He was going to need a new contract as well. So contract is up, one last Stanley Cup Final, didn't work out, and the captain retires. I love these stories where it's not just the guy you draft 1, 2, and 3. We drafted McIntyre 9th overall in 2024. He goes out still with a 99 shooting accuracies. I guess that grew as the physical went down. In the postseason, 308 games, 170 goals, 147 assists, 317 points. He shot at 14.1% in the playoffs and at 15.5% in the regular season. Almost 1,000 goals scored from the captain. McIntyre won the Calder, 2 Rockets, 2 Conn Smythes, the Hart, the Art Ross, the Ted Lindsay, the Lady Byng. He did it all. And he even got 4 Stanley Cup rings along the way. Avery, the Professor McIntyre, one of the best players we've ever had in Channel franchise mode history. The statue is being built on the holodeck for the 12-time 50-plus goal scorer. His best season, 70 goals in 75 games in 2029-30. Highest point total, 123 points in 2037-38. Let's see where he also ranks in the all-time numbers in the record book. 167 of his goals were game winners, 256 on the power play, 467 points on the power play as well, 28 shorthanded goals, 51 shorthanded points, averaged close to 21 minutes per night of ice time in his entire career, playing over 32,400 minutes. He was solid on the faceoffs as well, very good, 54.17% in his career. He threw a lot of hits. This was an underrated part of his game. Over 2,500 hits thrown in his career. Just what a career. I'm very curious where that puts him in the all-time numbers in this universe at this point in the franchise mode. And it would put McIntyre 3rd all-time in goals. Ovechkin, the only one to hit 1,000. McKinnon right ahead of him at 992. But Avery McIntyre, 986 goals, would put him 3rd all-time here as of 2044. As well as tying Alex Ovechkin for most 50-goal seasons all-time at 12. And also 900-point seasons, putting him 5th all-time behind Gretzky, Lemieux, McDavid, and Cole Yzerman. How about that for some career accolades? Avery McIntyre, thank you so very much for your contributions here in San Francisco, and we'll end off the series with you watching on from some sort of organizational role that we'll hire you in. Year number 22, and it's our first time in a long time without Avery McIntyre in this top 6. Our new first line headed into 2044-45 will be Valchevitz, Quint, and Datsuk here at the +1. On the second line, Nestrov now at the age of 35 with Courtnall, and this guy Jermaine House. We got him in a package as we moved out Rogers and his $9.3 million cap hit. It was either keeping Rogers, who hasn't really lived up to expectations, or re-signing Ludwig Eriksson. So we said, let's move out Rogers. We brought back Jermaine House, a Hungarian 5-star shooting sniper sniper from the Panthers. We get him. Yes, he's a lower overall, but really freeing up that money is what we needed. On the third pair, it's Matvechuk, Gibson, and Parker Henrik, coincidentally, another Hungarian. And then Zachary Cooper, former 4th-round pick, Palat, former 3rd-round pick, and Len Schumacher on the 4th line. Defense, it's Boyce now at a 90 overall, with Fritzmeier getting the +5, Eriksson and Lokhtianov. In the third pair, new third pair, Vyacheslav Ponikarovsky, former 1st-round pick of ours, offensive defenseman, fingers crossed, and Fred Romano, who've had in the system for a few years. He's now at a 78 and making the jump to the NHL. Goaltending, JDD and Aubin are both 85 overall, so keep a close eye on this. If the game is splitting starts and Aubin is really doing that much worse, we'll trade him out and make sure that JDD gets his starts, but hopefully the game kind of splits it and they can both manage the load. And for the captaincies in year number 22, being named as the 3rd captain in franchise history, Ludvig Eriksson, welcome to the captaincy, very well deserved from him, and his 2 alternates will be Nesterov and Valachevitz. Keep those President's Trophies rolling in year number 22 as we once again finish atop the NHL with a record of 59, 20, and 3, a power play of 26.2%, and a penalty kill of 85.2. In his first season without Avery McIntyre, Valachevitz scores 38 goals and 109 points to lead the team in scoring. Nesterov at the age of 36 still scores 51. Datsuk 94 points from the young 22-year-old. Courtnall with a career-high 90 points. Love that. Quint 88 consistently above point per game in that high 80s range. Fritzmeier 76 points and a +58 from the German, career high. Leo looking good. Boyce 70. Howes the Hungarian with 66 and 83 on that second line. Let's go. Then it starts to drop off quite drastically. Guillermo Gibson at 37. Lokhtianov 35. Okay, still 80 overall. Matvechuk, Eriksson, what a beast. The 34-year-old captain, his first season leading the squad. Down the list we go. And goaltending, okay, JDD goes 43, 11, and 2, 4 shutouts. But yeah, very obvious that Aubin not able to cut it simulation-wise. JDD so consistent, 912 save percentage, 2.62 goals against average, while Aubin was at 894 and 3.35 goals against. So we'll make sure that JDD is the postseason starter headed into the 2045 postseason. And in the 2045 postseason, we sweep Jacques Brulé and the Colorado Avalanche to win our 5th Stanley Cup in franchise history. In year 22, we make our 11th Stanley Cup final, but win just our 5th cup. Year 22, it's something special. 2-2s never lose, as I always say. And sweeping Brulé and the Avalanche, that feels good as well. The Conn Smythe goes to Artem Nesterov, one of our longest-serving players with the A on his jersey. 31 points for him through the postseason. Very well-deserved for the veteran. And coming over to raise Lord Stanley for, I believe, the 4th time in his career, but the 1st time as captain, Ludvig Eriksson, the Swedish defender, the former 2nd overall pick, now in his mid-30s, raises the cup for the 1st time as captain, a 4-time champ with Starfleet, captaining us to our 5th cup in franchise history. Valachevitz raises the cup, one of our alternate captains, and he's the former 1st overall pick as well. 2 guys we put a lot of investment into, and it really paid off. And finally, we'll give it over to Jean Drouin de Laurier with the Maple Leafs pads for some unknown reason. Never played for the Leafs, drafted by us, but here he is, JDD, Drouin de Laurier, fought his way to become the starter, pushing out other goalies along the way, and it's been for good reason. With 3 seasons left in San Francisco, who knows how many more times we'll be able to say this, so grab your cameras, and snap a picture, because it'll last a lifetime. All those beautiful names with Eriksson as captain, 2044-45 Stanley Cup champions. So the first 2 rounds were shaky as we beat the 17 seed Kraken in 6 and then the 8 seed Penguins in 7. After we were down 3-2 in that series as well, we came back to win in 7. Then in round 5, we took down the 4 seed Blackhawks in 5 and ultimately swept the 10 seed Brulé and the Avalanche for the Stanley Cup. Artem Nesterov at 36 years of age at an 82 overall with AHL top 6 potential. Might he retire? I'm not sure, but he wins the Conn Smythe. 31 points in 22 games from the Russian. Quint had 30, well done to him. Valachevitz 27. The Hungarian, Germain with 24. Courtnall 24. Datsuk 23. Look at those point totals. Lokhtianov with 12. Oh, yes. And the goaltending, JDD showed to me, baby. 16, 6-0 with 1 shutout, 911 save percentage, and 2.92 goals against average. In the awards, Leo Fritzmeier wins his first career James Norris Trophy. Well done to him, following Cole Hudson's footsteps. And we also see the Lady Byng go to Nesterov, so a Conn Smythe and Lady Byng season for him. Barring any retirements, that does it for year number 22. 3 seasons left, and coming off of a Stanley Cup, plus back-to-back Stanley Cup final appearances, we have a lot left in the tank. A big congratulations to Cole Hudson as he retires in 2045, having put up 1,165 points in 1,480 games, playing 3 more seasons after leaving San Francisco. Enjoy retirement, Cole. And we can't pass over Vyacheslav Emlin, who also retires in 2045, having played 6 more seasons after leaving San Francisco, 638 points in his career of 1,143 games. And one more goodbye, actually, as Juha Mikkola also retires. He played 7 more seasons after leaving San Francisco, 758 appearances in his career, going .444, .220, and .64, with 40 shutouts, a .907 save percentage, and 2.91 goals against average. Juha, thank you for everything. Year number 23, let's run it back. We had to overhaul the coaching over the offseason, as I believe 3 of the 4 coaches on the NHL staff retired. So new coaches, new chemistry and all that, but here's the lineup to start 2045-46. Chevitz, Quint, and Datsuk now at an 89 overall on the first line. House at an 85 with Courtnall and Nesterov. Nesterov, 36 years of age. AHL bottom 6 potential, but watch him score 40 goals. Henrik, Gibson, Matvichuk on the third. Schumacher, Palat, Nylander, who's a former second-round pick of ours, on the fourth line. Defense, it's Boyce and Fritzmeier, of course, the reigning Norris Trophy German. There he is. Eriksson with Lokhtianov, as Eriksson's now at 35 years of age and down to top 4 D potential. Third pair, Ponikarovsky and Michael Fritsch, who was a former first-round pick in 2041. JDD continues to start, backed up by Joey Rollison, fourth-round pick in 2041, and that's the lineup for year 23. No surprises in year number 23 as we finish atop the NHL with a record of 54, 24, and 4, power play of 32.6%, and penalty kill of 83.7. Look at that first line as Valanciunas leads the team in scoring at 34 years of age, 112 points from him. Quint with 106, a career high from him, and Datsuk, a young career high, but 103 points and 54 goals to lead the team in goal scoring. Nesterov, I told you he'd score 42 goals and 84 points from the 37-year-old, now 78 overall. Ridiculous. Fritzmeier, 74 points from him. He was a consistent 50-point guy. A 70 may have popped up here and there, maybe selling in the 60s. Now 3 consecutive 70-plus point seasons. Courtnall, 71. He kind of came down a little bit. No, last year was 90. Yeah, so was it the ice time? Ice time was there, so I don't know. Boyce, 71. House, 63 from the Hungarian. Matvichuk, 50. Lokhtianov, 42. Look at that. And down the list we go. Goaltending, JDD goes 44, 21, and 2, adding on to those career numbers. 2 shutouts, 913 save percentage, and 2.69 goals against average, heading into the year number 23 postseason, which you would think is Artem Nesterov's last. And you can keep the good times rolling in the year number 23 postseason as we win back-to-back Stanley Cups for our 6th Cup title in franchise history, making a 3rd Stanley Cup final, funnily enough, for the 3rd time, a 3rd consecutive Cup final for the 3rd time, and we've won back-to-back Cups now for a 2nd time, as we're here in our 12th Stanley Cup final through 23 years, now officially 6-6 through those 12 appearances. The Conn Smythe this year going to Chad Quinn. Look at that, what a Chad. 18 goals and 30 points from him, as you would think Artem Nesterov gets his final Stanley Cup. Big Gary looking good, calls over Ludvig Eriksson to raise his 2nd cup in as many years, both as captain as well. Ludvig Eriksson raises it in Tampa Bay as we took them down in a 6-game series for our 6th cup in franchise history. And just to close out his career, you know we got to do it. Artem Nesterov, we know we've already seen him before, but let's see him one last time. The 6th round pick. I forget what year it was. We'll recap it when he retires, most likely this offseason. A 6th round pick. Spent like 4 years in the AHL, made the jump to the NHL, and the rest is history. Another Stanley Cup for a franchise legend. I said it last season, and I'll say it again. You never know how many you got left, so cherish each one. Ladies and gentlemen, get out those cameras and snap a picture. It'll last a lifetime. Your 2045-46 Stanley Cup champions. In the 2046 postseason, we swept through round 1, took down the Devils in 5 in round 2, swept through Vegas in round 3, and then took down Tampa in the final in 6 games. Quint and Valchevitz tied for the team lead in points, but Quint scored 18 goals in 19 games, winning him the Conn Smythe. 30 points also from Valchevitz there, 10 goals, 20 assists. Datsuk 29, Fritzmeier 19, Howes, Boyce, all those guys in the teens. Nestrov still got it, 14 points from him, now at a 76 overall, minor scoring forward. Likely the end of his career, he goes out with back-to-back rings. Schumacher, Palat, everybody else. And JDD gets another ring as starting goaltender, going 15-1-2, 1 shutout, 906 save percentage, and 2.82 goals against average. Quint, of course, won the Conn Smythe, but also a huge congratulations to JDD, who won his second Vezina trophy. And as anticipated, Artem Nesterov does call it a career in the 2046 offseason, going out with 560 goals and 588 assists for 1,148 points in 1,035 games. A bit of a late bloomer as a 6th-round pick, 166th overall back in 2027. It took him a few years to make the team. He was an AHLer for a few years. We said, hey, let's give him a chance after a solid year, 62 points. We gave him 53 games. He scored 24 points. We said, okay, let's give him some increased ice time. Only 1542, and he scored 78 points. The rest was history as he scored 560 games across his career in San Francisco. Playing only 13 seasons in the NHL, 1, 2, 3 50-plus goal seasons, but very consistently in the high 40s. The points as well, 200-plus point seasons could usually be counted on in those 90s, plus 413, averaging not even crazy ice time in his career, 1656. Usually that second-line wing spot as well. And he could get physical, over 1,000 hits thrown in his career. In the postseason, Nesterov appeared in 222 games, scoring 105 goals and 100 assists for 205 points as he won 5 Stanley Cup rings with Starfleet. An incredible channel story, a 6th-round pick that went on to be a top 6 mainstay. And it definitely won't feel the same without him. So Nesterov, thanks for everything, and all the best in retirement. Year number 24, and it's a new world. No McIntyre, no Nesterov. Here we go for 2046-47. Valchevitz, Quint, and Datsuk on the top line. Howes, Courtnall, and Cowan on the second. Jared Cowan, once one of the best, if not the best player in the NHL, once upon a time. 1-year contract for him as we had an excess of cap space at the moment. Third line, Henrik Gibson, and welcome back Lucas Renz, former third-round pick who was gone for a few years. He's back now. Great defensive grinder for the third line. Nylander, Palat, and Brad Helms, former first-round pick of the Penguins, who's now on the fourth line. On defense, Boyce and Fritzmeier. Fritzmeier drops to an 87, only 33, but I guess whatever, plus 5. Eriksson, Lokhtianov on the second pair, Ponikarovsky and Romano on the third. Goaltending, JDD backed up by Joey Rolson, that 4th-round pick, now at an 82 overall. And there you have it. 3 consecutive Stanley Cup finals, back-to-back Cup championships. So let's see if we can make a 4th consecutive appearance in our penultimate season. And with Nesterov having retired, we'll be giving an alternate captaincy to Leo Fritzmeier into year number 24. In year number 24, we lead the NHL in wins with 54, but finish 3rd in league standings as we only have 37 regulation wins, with regulation wins being worth 3 points and overtime and shootout wins being worth 2. That has us drop to 3rd. So a great season, but no President's Trophy this year, as well as 29.3% of the power play and 82.2% on penalty kill. Datsuk and Valchevitz tied for the team lead in points with 102 points apiece. Chad Quint, always at consistent high 80s as he gets 89. Cowan, he still got at the age of 37, 79 points from the former Rocket Richard, multi-Rocket Richard winner. Howes 68, Courtnall 63. Come on, Doug. Boyce, Fritzmeier 55, yeah, starting to go down a little bit at 34 years of age, understandable. Renz, Gibson, Lokhtianov, not the craziest year for offense, I gotta say, but goaltending, okay, a career worst year for JDD, going 44, 20, and 4, but only 1 shutout, 895 save percentage, and 3.26 goals against average. Some ugly numbers, but still, winning his team in the league, and we're gonna make that push for a 4th consecutive Stanley Cup final. And in the 2047 postseason, we did indeed make a franchise-best 4th consecutive Stanley Cup final, but we ultimately fell to Vegas. It was a crazy postseason run where we reverse swept the 14-seed Flames in the first round, then took down the 6-seed Flyers in 5, barely got ousted by the 18-seed wildcard Rangers, but beat them in 7, before falling in 5 to the 12-seed Golden Knights. So a 13-11 record through 24 games. And in 24 games, Valchevitz scored 32 points at the age of 35. Love his leadership and everything he provides to this team. Datsuk 29, Quint 28, Boyce 23. Howes, Courtnall, Fritzmeier, Cowan, and everybody else here in the point scoring. Negative 12 from Ponikarovsky. Goaltending, JDD went 13-8-3 with 1 shutout, 9.11 save percentage, and 2.8 goals against average. So thus concludes year number 24, our final season, year number 25 on deck, and we'll do everything we can to go out as Stanley Cup champions. No, but in the 2047 offseason, Ludvig Eriksson calls it a career at the age of 36. He's still young. 138 goals and 306 assists for the captain. 444 points through 1,475 games, all with Starfleet. Down to an 82 overall. He still could have done one more. The second overall pick back in 2028. It was a bit risky to go for a defensive defenseman so high in the draft, but it worked out. He was a rock on that second pair for years. It's too bad he never got to the top pair because we were always kind of giving that spot to our top offensive guy, Hudson, Boyce, etc. But he still got points as a defensive defenseman. More than you would think, actually, from the typical defensive defenseman in franchise mode. To score 30 points is actually a bit surprising. A plus 460 in his career. And let's see this. And yeah, that's why he never got the big minutes because he was always on that second pair, but he got the penalty kill and everything else. I wonder what could have been if he played top pair with Fritzmeier or whoever else for the majority of his career. 1,776 blocked shots, 2,243 hits thrown. In the playoffs, he appeared in 296 games, 34 goals and 55 assists for 89 points. Also a plus 102 through 18 seasons and 18 postseasons in San Francisco. 5 Stanley Cup rings, 2 as captain of this team. I think he's on my Starfleet Mount Rushmore. Ludvig, all the best in retirement. We hope we can get you one more ring as you move into some sort of management role. Let's do it for Ludvig in year number 25. Year number 25, our final season with San Francisco, 2047-48. Some more changes made. Let's get into it. Valachevitz at 35 years of age, still on the top line with Quint and Datsuk with the +2. Second line, Howes, Courtnall, and Bear Albert. Again, one of the formerly top players in the league. Still has 5-star shooting. We signed him in free agency to play on the second line. While on the third line, it's Gibson. This guy, Yekimovs, who we acquired from the Penguins, and he was a former draft pick of the Flames. 4.5-star shooting, power forward, 6'3", and Ren's on the third line. Nylander, Chipchura, also a guy we got from the Penguins as well for the fourth line at the moment, and Henrik. Also, he could probably swap with Ren's if he had to, but we'll keep the chemistry. On defense, Boyce and Fritzmeier. Leo now at an 82 overall. That's unfortunate. Second pair, Loktionov with Romano, and third pair, Ponikarovsky with Sven Sundqvist, former, again, first-round pick of the Penguins. It was a bit of a larger trade they made with them. Chemistry is horrible. If we were to go on to year, 30 or 35, we would definitely need some better defensive pieces in our system, but part of that is just franchise mode not generating enough defensemen. Goaltending, of course, is it anybody else? JDD starting, backed up by Oleg Habibulin, third-round pick in 2042. And finally, for our captains in 2047-48, Leo Fritzmeier and Chad Quint will be the alternates, while Michal Valachevitz will be the fourth captain in Starfleet history to finish off our 25th season. You just know we had to end it out atop the NHL, as in year number 25, we get another President's Trophy with a record of 58, 21, and 3, a power play of 31.8%, and a penalty kill of 89.2, the highest we've seen since year number 5 of our Penguins series back on NHL 23. For point scoring, it's the first time in a long time that our leading point scorer doesn't hit 100 plus points, but that's all right by me. Datsuk gets 98, which we'll survive with. Valachevitz at 36 years of age, the captain scores 97 points, still an 86 overall. Quint 95, is that a career high for him? I believe. No, second best season of his career, yes. The seasons are blurring together. Bruce Boyce, 83 points, that's a career high. Yes, very well done from him. Albert, 82, he still got it at 35 years of age. Courtnall 78, Howes 72. I think that's a career high for Germain. Yeah, the Hungarian looking good, entering the 70s. Yekimovs, Fritzmeier 57 points and a plus 56 from the 35-year-old, and down the list we go. Some tough plus minuses for the fourth line. Goaltending, JDD bounces back this year, going 44, 17, and 2. 8 shutouts, a 917 save percentage, and 2.6 goals against average, while Oleg Habibulin went 14, 4, and 1 in relief with a 912 save percentage and 2.89 goals against. Headed into year number 25, it'll be our attempt for a 5th consecutive Stanley Cup final. We're looking for a 6th Stanley Cup in our final season. How will our 25th and final year end off? Let's see what the postseason has in store. And ladies and gentlemen, we get our fairy tale ending for year number 25 as the San Francisco Starfleet win their 7th Stanley Cup in franchise history and their 3rd of the last 4 years, as we did indeed make a 5th consecutive Stanley Cup final to end off our series here with the Starfleet squad. We took down the Flyers in 6 games to win our 7th Cup and our 14th Stanley Cup final overall through 25 years. What a stat to think of. The Conn Smythe goes to the captain. 15 goals and 31 points from Valachevitz. Crazy how well these older players age and continue to simulate in franchise mode. And now Valachevitz, for the first time as captain, sitting in the captain's chair. He's watched McIntyre, he's watched Eriksson, and now he gets his turn to raise Lord Stanley as captain of the San Francisco Starfleet squad. So proud of this guy, beating the bust allegations, the first overall pick that many said maybe it's time to cut ties with him after 3 or 4 seasons, but it worked out. Ladies and gentlemen, for one last time, a 7th championship through 25 years, gather round and snap a picture. It'll last a lifetime. San Francisco Starfleet, your 2047-48 Stanley Cup champions. It was another nail-biter in round 1 as the 17-seed wildcard Leafs pushed us to 7, but thankfully we made it through, then took down Vancouver in 6, Tampa in 5, and the 11-seed Flyers in 6 to win that cup. Valachevitz leading by example, 31 points for the captain, getting him the Conn Smythe. Courtnall, look at that, 28 points from him, well done. He has his ups and downs. Datsu 25, Boyce 23, Quint 22, Albert 20, House 20, Fritzmeier 20, great. So good point totals here from the majority of the team. Tough plus minus on the defense there, third defensive pair. And JDD goes 16-7-1 with a .904 save percentage and 3.17 goals against average. And a great way to end off year number 25 as Boyce wins his first Norris Trophy. Love to see that. From Hudson to Fritzmeier to Boyce. Of course, Valachevitz winning the Conn Smythe. Another Vezina to JDD. And the Jennings as well going to him. As we'll now get the famous end of franchise mode wrap up. It tells you all your stats. It tells you, franchise mode is now complete. That's all we get. Mode complete, ladies and gentlemen. 25 years have come to an end. Thankfully, we can go look at the record book. That's one thing they do allow you to look at. But you know what? Before we go there, let's start off the final closing off of the episode by looking at our team legends and their point totals and their careers, even though they haven't retired just yet. Valachevitz probably had a season or 2 left in him, but we end off this series with him having played 1,476 games in San Francisco, scoring 687 goals and 986 assists for 1,673 points. A plus 616, 383 power play points, average over 20 minutes per night, through 2,647 hits. He was physical there, 6'2" power forward, great ratio of takeaways to giveaways as well, underrated, over 1,800 takeaways. In the postseason, through 305 appearances, he scored 137 goals and 228 assists for 365 points, winning 6 Stanley Cups with Starfleet and 1 as captain. Valachevitz, like I said, beating the bust allegations, a 2030 first overall pick. I'm glad it worked out for him. And we also can't forget his Calder and 2 Conn Smythe trophies, but I'm surprised he didn't win more awards, as he had 8 100-plus point seasons. That's crazy. So I've only won the Calder, but still 2 Conn Smythes, but still, put some respect on this guy's name. Never hit 50 goals, but 8 100-plus point seasons. Next up, Chad Quint, who was the 24th overall pick by Dallas. Again, I love when they're not always just a top 3 pick. He was the 24th overall selection by the Stars, and we acquired him. I forget exactly what the trade was, but we saw him as a prospect. We were interested in him. We saw the numbers he put up in the OHL. He made the jump to the NHL right away. 12 seasons in San Francisco, 984 games played, 430 goals, 511 assists, 941 points, a plus 404. In the playoffs, 209 points in 219 games, and 5 Stanley Cup rings. I'm sure there'd be more to come from the 32-year-old Chad Quint. Well done. The ultimate Chad. Bruce Boyce, we drafted him in 2038 knowing that he'd be the eventual replacement for Cole Hudson. That's exactly what he was, especially by ending off with a Norris Trophy. 738 games played all with Starfleet, 82 goals, 461 assists, 543 points as a plus 303. In the postseason, 124 points in 168 games, and 3 Stanley Cup rings for him. I'm sure he would have won a few more Norris trophies throughout his career as well. Top pair mainstay for us. Doug Courtnall, we drafted him, as you know, 4th overall in 2041. 467 points in 574 games with Starfleet. Not as much of a commitment to him in the storyline since we didn't have him as long. Jermaine Howes, yeah, we had him 410 games, 321 points through 4 seasons there. Very good from the Hungarian. Leo Fritzmeier, we had him for the majority of his career. The former 2nd overall pick in 2031 by the Maple Leafs. We acquired him in the big Moritz Seider trade. Right-handed German defenseman for another right-handed German defenseman. It was asset management. We loved Moritz Seider. He was a series legend for us as well, but it came down to trying to get younger, and that's exactly what we did. And he won his Norris Trophy. He won his 5 Stanley Cups, 917 points in 1,391 games in his career, 3 seasons with Toronto. But we acquired him hoping he could be okay. Maybe he's a 30-point guy. Maybe he can be a 50-point guy. He had a few seasons like that, but then boom, 60s, 70s. In the postseason, 186 points in 271 games. As I mentioned, 5 Stanley Cup rings with San Francisco. Leo Fritzmeier turned into one of our pillars of this series, the top pair right-hand mainstay, whether it was Hudson or whether it was Boyce. He was always on that right side providing the support. Guillermo Gibson, low-key, 2nd-round pick in 2037. Yeah, he was here for a lot of seasons, yeah. He was here for 656 games. Didn't really notice him all the time, but 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years in San Francisco. 267 points for him. Well done to Guillermo. Love that. Renz, he was a former 3rd-round pick of ours. Spent the start of his career with us. Yeah, a good number of years with us. Then jumped around to a few teams. Then 2 more years back in San Francisco. Locktiana, we had him for a little while too. Some of these names don't mean as much since we didn't have them in our first 15 years, but Locktiana played 574 games with us. 2nd, 3rd pair guy, 6th overall pick of the Flyers way back when. Anybody else who was really here for a while? Maybe Parker Henrik, I suppose. Yeah, he was here. Yeah, you can see those numbers for him if you're interested. And of course, we gotta look at Jean Drouin de Laurier, who was a 3rd-round pick in 2034, forced his way into the starter's crease, and ends off this series, still with more years left on his contract, but ends the series with 549 appearances in San Francisco, 378 wins. We'll see if that's a franchise record. 131 losses, 27 overtime losses, 37 shutouts, a .910 save percentage, and 2.74 goals against average. Numbers that are not easy to come by, especially in the later years of franchise mode. In the playoffs, 91, 38, and 9 through 139 appearances, 6 shutouts, a .909 save percentage, and 2.9 goals against average. As he also captured 5 Stanley Cup rings and 3 as our starter. JDD, for a guy who was an 85 overall and not someone with crazy potential or anything, I think it's possible he may have passed Mikkola as our best goalie in franchise history. And speaking of that franchise history, after 25 years of Starfleet, here's how all the numbers shake out. Our all-time points leader, Avery McIntyre, with 1,834 points through 19 seasons played, also a franchise record. Valachevitz led the way in assists with 986, as he just passed Cole Hudson, I believe, who had 800-something at one point. Games played, also Avery McIntyre, 1,551. Penalty minutes to Eriksson, as he got 1,251. Most shutouts all-time, JDD with 37. Mikkola, he may have had like 31 or something, so all-time shutouts leader, and all-time wins leader as well at 378, while all-time goals record goes to McIntyre, of course, with 986. Single season record, games played, of course, 82. Most shutouts in a season, JDD with 8. Penalty minutes, Parker Henrik had 165 in 2045. Most goals in a season, McIntyre with 70 in 2029. Most points to McIntyre, 123 in 2037. Most assists in a season, Cole Hudson with 85 in 2039. And most wins in a season to JDD with 52 in 2042. Rookie records, Rickard Rask had 36 assists in 2033, Mikkola 4 shutouts in 2028, McIntyre 49 goals in his Calder season in 2025, Mikkola wins 37 again in 2028, and McIntyre points 72 in 2025. Not sure why it goes assists, shutouts, goals, wins, points. Feels a bit odd. And single game records, JDD 47 saves in one game in 2041, Perfetti 5 assists in 2028, Lindholm an 8-point game in 2031, and McIntyre one of, I'm sure, of many 4-goal games games across our franchise's history, but he did it in 2025. Looking at the entire NHL, if you didn't see earlier, now's the time to look at it, as we see Avery McIntyre ends third all-time in goals in this universe by 2048, 986, just 6 behind Nathan McKinnon for second all-time. Avery McIntyre also ties Alexander Ovechkin for the most 50-goal seasons in NHL history with 12 apiece, and 100-point seasons. McIntyre has 9, technically putting him in third or tying him for third, as Gretzky's 1, and then Lemieux, McDavid, and Yzerman are all tied for second, and 9 100-point seasons puts him there in fifth, or in third if that's how you want to think about it. For single-season records, JDD won the most games by a goaltender in single-season NHL history with those 52 wins in 2042, passing Martin Brodeur and Braden Holtby, who had 48, so that's a big record for JDD. Hadn't really thought about that. That's true, 52 wins. And rookie records, Avery McIntyre 5th all-time for goals in a rookie season with 49, and that does it for franchise and NHL records. And now with all those player records done, we can now move to our final stats, which would be the all-time franchise numbers, the awards that were won, all that stuff. But I want to start off by looking at the captains through our 25 years at Starfleet, starting off with Elias Lindholm from our expansion draft in 2023 all the way to the end of 2032, 9 seasons as captain before Avery McIntyre, the heir apparent, finally took over in 2033 at 1 year of no captain from 32 to 33. 2033 to 2044, 10 years as captain here in Starfleet. Ludwig Eriksson then served 3 years as captain before Valchevitz ended off our last year as captain and likely would have had 1 or 2 more seasons before his retirement. After that, maybe Chad Quint? I don't know. Looking at the awards now, starting with our goaltenders, we won 6 Vezinas and 6 Jennings. Very curious, I just noticed this, what a coincidence. Every starting goalie we had who won an award had a first name that started with a J. Russell Brindamore backed up for a Jennings, but everyone else had a J. So Mikkola won our first 2 Vezina trophies, then Brule won 1, and JDD with the franchise record 3 Vezinas from 2042 to 2048. Maybe he would have won some more, but he holds the franchise record for that. While 6 Jennings, Mikkola shared one with Brindamore, then won his own, then shared one with, actually 2 with Brule. So 4 Jennings, won by or shared by Juha Mikkola, as Brule won one of his own as well. So 4 for Mikkola, 2 for Brule, 1 for Brindamore, and 1 for JDD in 2048. On to the skater awards now. We won only 1 Selke trophy back in year number 2, as the captain Elias Lindholm won it in 2025. 2 Lady Bings, 1 to McIntyre in 2043 and 1 to Nesterov in 2045, and 3 Calder trophies to McIntyre, Valchevitz, and Quint, 3 of our best players in franchise history, so well deserved there. And also, not a skater award, but we won 1 Jack Adams in year number 2, as McCutcheon won the Jack Adams, a hard award to win in franchise mode. On to the next bigger ones that were only won once or twice. 1 Hart, 1 Art Ross, and 1 Ted Lindsay, all in 2038 for Avery McIntyre, who also added 2 Rocket Richards in 2027 and 2030. And then on to the bigger ones. 5 Norris trophies. We had great defensemen in this series. 3 for Cole Hudson in 2037, 40, and 42. Leo Fritzmeier in 2045. And then Boyce in our final season in 2048. I'm sure he would have won a few more as well. Through our 25 years, of course, we won 7 Stanley Cups. Our 7 Conn Smythe trophies went to Artemi Panarin, 2 to Avery McIntyre, Valchevitz, who won his first in 2039, then Nesterov, then Quint, and then Valchevitz getting his second in 2048. So 2 for Mac, 2 for Valchevitz, and 1-offs for everybody else. Now coming to the final team stats between 2023 and 2048, all 25 years, our first 15 seasons as general manager. In that time, in those first 15 years, we went 771, 350, and 109 as a record, a win percentage of 62.68%, and an average record of 52, 23, and 7 per season. 12 out of 15 division titles, 8 conference titles, 6 President's trophies, and making the postseason all 15 times, of course. A playoff record of 142 and 86, as we made 7 Stanley Cup finals in those 15 years and won 3 Stanley Cups. Then as we transition to the president of hockey ops role for the next 10 seasons, we went 567, 253, now giving us a win percentage of 69.15. So that's just showing you a little bit of how overpowered at times the calendar simulation can be when you have a really good team. 57, 20, and 5 was our average record. 10 for 10 on division titles, 8 conference titles, 8 President's trophies, 128 and 59 in the playoffs, 7 Stanley Cup finals once again, but this time 4 Stanley Cup victories. So it's funny, we went 3 for 7 in Cup finals over 15 years when we're going into the slow sim, but then we go 4 for 7 over 10 Stanley Cup finals in the calendar sim. So again, shows you the strength and the kindness of the calendar simulation as opposed to the slow sim. Then we put those numbers all together for all 25 years. We had a regular season record of 1,338 wins, 550 losses, and 162 overtime or shootout losses, giving us an overall win percentage of 65.27%. Our average record was 54, 22, and 6, with an average power play of 28.57% and an average penalty kill of 83.5%. Through 25 years, we won 22 division titles. Remember, only 4 teams in our division, but still, 16 of those came consecutively. Our conference title, which is just as hard to get in the real league as it is in this custom league, 16 out of 25 on those, as well as 9 coming consecutively, and 14 out of 25 seasons were President's Trophy seasons, 6 of those coming consecutively. 25 for 25 on making the postseason, 270 and 145 is our all-time playoff record, making 14 Stanley Cup finals through 25 years and winning 7 Stanley Cups, doing so back-to-back twice. And that just about wraps our San Francisco expansion franchise mode series on NHL 24, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to see the data presented to you in a bit of a different way, you can look at it on the Excel sheet here if you're interested, or look at the link in the description where the Google sheet is kept as well. But this is the sheet that I kept for my own personal use throughout the series. You can see the years as GM in blue, the years as president of Hockey Ops in orange. All the numbers are presented here: best power play, best penalty kill, etc. We made the wild card twice. We went 2-0 and never had to make it there 23 years. In the first round, we went 21-4 through 25 years. So 21 for 25 on the first round, we'll take that. 16-5 when making it to round 2. 15-2, how about that, when making it to the third round? But in Stanley Cup final, it was 50-50. We went 7-7, including those 5 consecutive Stanley Cup finals there in the last 5 years. The playoff percentages and all that, and all the awards that were won through the year. So if you like it like that, this is one way it could be presented to if you're more of an Excel person. And that now brings us to the very end of this series. So thank you so very much for watching. I'll spare you the long outro, but as I said at the beginning, whether you watched 40 plus episodes over the last 10.5 months or you're just coming for the wrap up, I thank you for taking the time to enjoy the series, be involved in it. Many of you who left such detailed comments helping to build the team. It was a fun constraints type of thing with the nationalities. It was a challenging series, but it also sits as one of my favorites through all the series we've done since like NHL 18 now. Don't miss out on the Vancouver wrap up to year 25 coming soon as well. That was our other series in NHL 24 with the Vancouver Canucks. That series is the exact same format, 15 years as GM and then 10 years as president of Hockey Ops. That wrap up is coming later this week before NHL 25. It's a boatload of work, so I appreciate any likes that you can spare to leave on the video. And while I'm on the topic, remember to subscribe if you haven't already and hit that bell so that you'll be notified for all of our franchise modes, career simulations, and much more to come in NHL 25 and beyond. And speaking of NHL 25, make sure to get your suggestions in down in the comments below or over in the Discord server, link in the description, to let me know which team you want to see for our first series of NHL 25, which will be out in less than a week now on Friday, September 27th, 12 p.m. Eastern. The moment the game drops, I will be live. We'll be going through franchise mode, seeing all the new revamped things. Speaking of those revamped things, go ahead and check out my reaction and breakdown of the deep dive trailer. I'll leave that as an end screen at the end of this video, as there are a lot of new franchise mode features in NHL 25 and I can't wait to get into them. Also keep an eye out for the Data 782 Hall of Fame induction class coming soon. Now that we've finished more series, we're going to be inducting more players to our channel Hall of Fame. Through all of our series that we've done, we have dozens of players who have been legends like Avery McIntyre, Artem Nesterov, etc. These players have the chance to be inducted to our channel Hall of Fame, so keep an eye out when that poll comes out to vote for them. I'll close it there. Ladies and gentlemen, what a series it was. Let me know in the comments what your favorite part was, who your biggest legend was, your favorite moments throughout the 25 years, and like I said, what team you want to see first come NHL 25. Thanks again for watching. Live long and prosper.